And in that Monday Night Football game was a lot of things that happened. Obviously, the Oakland Raiders, for 2 years in a row now, have started a lot harder than anybody would have ever given them credit for. A lot of talk about the shoes on the quarterback last night. Drew Brees' shoes with his own records on them and stuff like that. But Derek Carr had possibly the cleanest pair of cleats I've ever seen on television or on a football field. That goes a long way. That team looks great. Who the hell knew who this Waller guy was before last night? Probably fantasy owners and gamblers, but the rest of the world got introduced to a stud who's a tight end who's faster than every other tight end in the league and catch a ball at a time. Then obviously Josh Jacobs is next level. Derek Carr's making plays. And in that locker room afterwards, the celebration makes me feel as if the Las Vegas Raiders are all the way in. What a win by them on prime time Monday Night Football. And the Saints got to figure it out. Drew Brees' arm, guys. It was the talk of the internet last night. Old Drew Brees' arm was talking. Can this guy throw deep anymore? How about he's supposed to be the most accurate passer of all time? He was missing guys in the flat. He was missing some throws on national television. Now, he had shoes on that had all of his records on them. And his records list is a long one. He's on top of almost NFL record charts of everything you could possibly want to be on for a quarterback. But to get on top of those charts, you know what you need? A lot of throws. Lot of throws. Is that arm throwed out? A lot of people are asking. Ooh. Is Drew Brees' arm no longer what it once was?
Yep.
Is that mechanism where he tilts his head back, he looks underneath his helmet, and he uses a lot of elbow on his pass? Is that thing died off? There was people tweeting bone arms last night saying this is his arm. And I don't know if that's fair after one bad game. Maybe he just wasn't feeling the ball one night. Can the guy have a mistake? When you're a GOAT, people say no. Let's not say that Drew Brees is dead just yet, though. Remember, Cam Newton wasn't even on a team a couple months ago. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers were never going to work about a week ago. Now, Drew Brees' arm can't operate anymore 1 week after beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's react accordingly, saying maybe we should check out that arm a little bit, which we've been talking about for a couple years now at this show. And a lot of people probably weren't listening to our show a couple years ago or currently watching or listening because we weren't on the platforms that we're currently on, nowhere near as large as they are now, by the way, no big deal. Which, by the way, is just going to happen over time. Yeah. If I've learned anything in this internet game, you stick around long enough, things will start to build. No matter what. And that's what we've done. We've stuck around a long time here at this point, a few years. But a couple years ago, we talked about how Drew Brees' arm at the end of the season did not look like it really had the pop that it once had. Then last year, he gets a 5-game reprieve, if you do recall, because he hurt his thumb. Teddy Bridgewater comes in and goes undefeated. And at the end of the year last year, Drew Brees had a little bit more pop on that arm still. So I wondered for 2 years, just because these are my self-opinions, does Drew Brees' arm cause concern if you're a New Orleans Saints fan? Because 2 years ago, didn't look like he could make it to the end of the year. Last year, he got a 5-game reprieve, so would he have made it? We don't know. Now here we are, week 2, very early in an NFL season, and the world's questioning his arm. I assume Drew Brees will bounce back. That's what Drew Brees does. That's what the world does. He didn't have Michael Thomas as well. Maybe that's why he wasn't taking as many shots or throwing the ball as deep or maybe missing people. Who knows? But last night, the Raiders looked absolutely unbelievable. The Saints fall to 1-1 for a tie in the NFC South, even though they have the head-to-head matchup win, and things are just getting spicy. That Vegas Raiders team and the Saints last night. The talk of the internet last night was that Drew Brees didn't have the same pop on his arm anymore. He was inaccurate. He was missing guys. As a guy who was a 16-year safety, is that something that's very easy to tell on the other side, or is there a chance that Drew Brees just had an off night and his arm looked a little bit weaker than everybody thought it should look?
Statistically, if you think about it, I played against Drew Brees a lot, and he never had a strong arm. He was always just accurate. He's hitting guys right on the mark. And I was telling D Butt this. I was telling Darius Butler that people don't realize how much they need the preseason. And that hurts a lot of people because you at least need one tune-up game just to get the kinks out and just to get everything going. I understand they already played one game, but that was live bullets. And everybody's still trying to adjust to the timing. They're trying to adjust to where this guy running, or somebody missed it. I was watching the game Sunday. Somebody went to hand the ball off, and the running back went the opposite way. So it's a lot of kinks that you got to work out. But back to Drew Brees, I don't think he missed a step. I think he'd be just fine. I don't even think it's time to panic. It's only week 2. I don't think he ever had a strong arm. I just thought he was just one of the most accurate guys in the game, period.
So that was kind of exactly how Peyton played as well, right? Peyton had that 6'5" laser rocket arm commercial. Everybody was like, oh, Peyton's got the strongest arm ever. It was like, now listen, I came in there late, but it wasn't that he had the strongest arm ever. He could just drop it on a pin if he had to, and it was exactly timed up with where his receivers were going to be. That's why the reps in the offseason were so important.
Yeah.
That's why the reps.
Yeah,
because the timing, he wanted to know where Dallas Clark was going to be when Dallas Clark still had his head running down. Peyton was releasing that thing because he knew that Dallas was going to cut there. I would assume Drew Brees is the same way. And to your point, without the preseason game, whenever a DB is maybe playing a little bit differently than the guys you have on a roster, that can disrupt the timing. Is that what you were getting at there?
Absolutely, and plus, think about it. Michael Thomas wasn't even playing. He's not there, and that's his go-to guy. That's where all the timing is at. And back to when I was in Denver, and I want to compare the two, Tom. I want to compare Drew Brees and Peyton Manning. So when I was in Denver, we knew Peyton Manning's arm wasn't that strong. So when Demaryius Thomas used to run his fade routes, as soon as he released off the ball, that ball was gone. The ball was gone and it drops right in. Same thing with Drew Brees. Drew Brees he's a little shorter, so he backs up a little further. And with Michael Thomas, he just leans back and just drops it right in every time. And that's all timing for the off season.